success is failing 9 times and getting up the 10th. A very positive good evening to all dear participants, dignitaries of Research Foundation of India, and our distinguished subject expert, Dr. Ankita Jain ma'am. As it is marked the second day of our 10 days FDP on a step by step guide to write a good research paper. And the topic of our today's session is problem identification and formulation, an art of writing a review of literature. And for this session, Dr. Ankita Jan ma'am is here with us. But before we start with the session, let's have a look on achievement journey of our subject expert, Dr. Ankita Jan ma'am. So, Dr. Ankita Chan ma'am has been associated with Sri Vaishnav Institute of Management and Research Indore as an assistant professor in Department of Management and Science, prior to which ma'am has served in Prestige Institute of Management and Research. Ma'am has completed her PhD from Prestige Institute of Management and Research, DAVV. Ma'am has having a teaching experience of more than 10 years and has been involved in teaching subjects like human resource management, principles and practices of management, entrepreneurship, business communication, organizational development, personality development, performance management, human resource development, leadership skills, and change management. Human values and professional ethics and other general management oriented subject at graduate and postgraduate level also. Recently, ma'am has completed her annual 5-week faculty development program at Indian Institute of Management Indore (IIM), and one patent has also been published in April on methods or model for solving the unemployment problem through digital businesses. Ma'am was invited for expert lectures at various places. She has also coordinated and moderated various events and national and international events, and she has been book editor in book Virtual Teaching in India during lockdown. Apart from this, 10 books are under process, and she has been attended various national and international conferences and presented more than 45 papers and published more than 30 research papers, book chapters, case studies in international and national journals and conferences predecessors. Ma'am has also been attended various training sessions, workshops, faculty development program, and lectures by management forums. And ma'am has completed various life projects and major research projects with students. In ma'am's job, ma'am has been the part of institutional committees such as Research and Development Committee, Industry Committee, Interface Committee, Admission Sale, Culture and Literacy Committee, Admission Sale, Placement Sale, Management Games, and Extracurricular Activities Committee, and Photography Club member. Ma'am has organized various cultural events, including fashion shows, flash mobs at various places in Indore. Ma'am has been honored at Devi Ahilyabai Holkar Airport by Airport Authority for presenting flash mob on Republic Day and World Tourism Day, and also counseling the students for their career as well as for their individual development also. Ma'am has been a keen interest in research work and counseling to the students. She's also a motivational speaker, career guidance, and life coach by passion. She trained various students on multiple skills, and with this, ma'am has also get many more certified certifications in her name. So, with this, without any further delay, I feel my honor and RFI's honor to invite highly esteemed Dr. Ankita Jan ma'am. She is known and precise for her expertise in her area. So, today she is here on RFI's platform to guide all of you. So, ma'am, please hold the footpress. Now, the platform is yours. Welcome, ma'am.
Thank you so much, Nikita ma'am, for the introduction. And thank you so much, Team RFI, for giving me this opportunity for this particular training and development program. So, without any delay, I would like to start my session. So, I'll be sharing my slides with you all. I hope my slides are visible and my voice is audible to everyone.
Yes, ma'am, it's visible and audible too.
Yeah. So, as you all already know, that we are here to, to understand about this particular FDP, various aspects of the research because this FDP come training program is based on a step by step guide to write a good research paper. And what I am assuming that here, that to whom I am delivering the session are the scholars, professors, some senior professors, and other faculty members who are into academics, and somehow they are listening to this session for their PhDs or any further academic work, or might be the clarity of the topics or understanding on the various aspects of the research. So this training and development program will be going to help you for 10 days session. Excuse me, just a minute. Yes. So I was telling you that somehow this FDP training program will be helping you in various aspects, because we are having 10 different sessions by different speakers eh, with their expertise, which is going to talk about various important headings, chapters which we have to write in the research paper, in articles, or whenever we are formulating or doing any research, we are writing PhDs or somewhere, something. So, in this case, if we talk about the research paper writing, understanding the publications, how to write review of literature, questionnaire designing, application of Excel and SPSS while we are doing any kind of statistical analysis, quantitative data analysis. Also, the hypothesis development, which is a part of research methodology. Also, research design and sampling, understanding ethical issues, especially the plagiarism which we are facing nowadays, that most of the people are started using, students especially, started using AI and I must say chat GPT or something like that. Also, how to write conclusion and summary. So these points we are going to cover in this particular training program. So my topic is all about problem identification, and the second part of my this particular program and my topic is writing a review of literature. So there are two important things I'm gonna focus. So as we have already started with one session, so you must be having some basics about the research paper. So if we see, there are various parts of the research paper or thesis. We call them chapters or different parts. So if we talk about the first one, that is introduction. So introduction, in generally people do understand how to write, but when it comes to the second part, that is review of literature, that we have to understand it very properly because it is very important. I'm coming to that one by one. So first one is introduction, second one is review of literature, third one is research methodology. Fourth one is results and interpretation or data analysis and interpretation. Next one is findings and discussion. And the last one is conclusion. Also, reference it needs to be there in the end. So, as I was telling you about the review of literature, introduction is also important. But when we come to review of literature, the gist of all these studies is very important to understand the previous work which has been done in this particular area, the reviews which were there already, or which are already there. There are some published and unpublished or working papers or existing literature is there, so that you can expand your knowledge, so that you can understand about the topic, so that you can clarify on what is your title and what exactly you need to study. So whenever we why we start on understanding the review of literature, why we need to do this. See, as we are in academics, some topics, some studies, some research we want to do, sometimes by choice, sometimes by force. So we decide upon doing some research on a topic. So how would you get the knowledge? From where? Obviously, you will Google it. I mean, you will search it somewhere, On this internet you will get so many websites which are authentic and get giving you lots of information about it. You will get you can see different research paper published on different various websites. Various Indian theses are published on Shodh Ganga. There are Google Scholar from where we can get so many relevant papers. So because of the internet, the facility got facilities are there to get access of data easily by sitting at home only. Apart from this, if you want, you can physically go and visit the libraries. You can also check upon various things from where you can get the data. So because review of literature gives the clarity over your research work, your research title, your research problem, because you must be having something in your mind, you must be having some questions. So that is the problem, that is the cause, why are you doing this study. So you have to identify that. So problem identification, formulation. So I'm starting my session, then I'll be coming back to both the parts one by one. First we have to talk about research problem. So what is a research problem? We also call it research question. So number one, it can be question that needs to be answered. It can be a concept which you about which you don't have any clarity, so you want to understand. It can be a crisis that needs to be resolved. It can be a situation which needs to be changed, or it can be a reason of dissatisfaction which you have to understand why it is like that. So your research problem can be anything. Then identification, how to identify. So first you have to identify the research problem, understand, like you have to have some idea in your mind. Then review of literature. See, again it is coming back to you that what is review of literature. So I'll be telling you in the second part, but you have to understand and review the literature so that you can understand what has been done earlier and what is still left. Then specify a research purpose. Then you, after understanding, hoping that you will get your a research purpose, that why this research, reason for research. For that, you have to collect the data, you have to analyze and give the interpretation of it, and finally, you have to evaluate the research. And then again, you can identify and clarify on your research problem. If we talk about selection of a research problem, so it is the important. First, you need to identify, you have to answer some questions. On the basis of that, you have to select, like, is the problem relevant and important. Sometimes we something comes in our mind and we start researching on that. Then we understand that I don't think so that is this much required, this is not relevant what I was thinking, or that is not that much important that we should go for research. Next one is, does the subject area suit to his interest? Is this your is this the area where you are doing this research work, or going inside of this research, deep down of this research, is like, are you really interested in this? Does it contain originality and creativeness? You should also understand this thing. Nowadays it is very much important because everything is online. So you should not copy anybody's content, you should not copy anybody's title. So you have to maintain this thing, that whatever title you are having, it should contain the originality and creativeness. Then, does the problem requires extension of knowledge? Again, you have to understand whether what information you are having about this particular title is that enough, or you need more and more clarity over the this particular topic. Steps in formulation of a research problem. So first you have to identify the field. Okay, then in that field you have to understand what is your interest area, then what is the sub area, what is the, you have to be more specific on that. Then assess the objectives. You have to, now on the basis of that you have to assess your objectives. because finally you have to formulate a research problem. So for that you have to assess your objective, whether you are going right way or not. Then you have to formulate of the research objectives, and finally you have to raise the questions. Now let me talk to you about the review of literature. Along with that, I am also going to tell you about the research problem mode. Okay, so as the name says, review of literature means already existing content, published work, which is already existing. You have to review that so that you can have a better understanding on your topic. Okay, so again, before starting the introduction of review literature, let me tell you something about it. See, as you are studying the previous work, okay, so you can see what is already there, and what is already studied, what researchers has done already. So, and what you want to identify. So first you have to see whether it is not a clash between these two. Means both are different, like different manner, in the manner of like it should not be duplicate what is already done. If something is already done, you can change your some variables or something to study, right? So whenever we see that what is already done and what is not done, you find out a gap. We call it a research gap, which needs to be written after the review of literature. That what is done, what is left, and between that you have to find out a gap. Okay, on the basis of that gap, whatever the questions you were having in your mind, you have to refine your research questions. And on the basis of that, once you refine your questions, now you know what you need to, because you are having question in your mind. So you need answer for that. So what is your objective? To answer those questions. So after research question, you will be able to frame the research objectives. Or after review of literature, you will be able to refine your objectives. Once the objectives are done, you will be able to write your hypothesis. Accordingly, you can decide upon tools for data collection, tools for data analysis, sampling method, sampling size, sampling type, research design, everything you can decide upon. And accordingly, you can go for data analysis. So if we talk about the review of literature, so it is a summary of all the reviews from various research literatures related to current study carried out by a researcher. Then it helps to discover what is already known about the research problem and what more has to be done. So it helps to discover what is already known, means what is already existing, and what more has to be done, what is still not done, and we have to find out. Then the material gathered in the literature should be included as a part of the research data, since it influences the research problem and the research design. Okay. Also, it can be used to compare the results and finding of the current study. Now, let me also discuss this part. There are two things. There is one part, that is review of literature in the research paper or thesis comes. Apart from this, there is one more part, that is discussion, which comes after the analysis, findings and discussion, where this particular review of literature plays very important role, because it helps to compare the results and findings of the current study. Means what previously has been done in this area, what results were there, and accordingly what you have found out, right? So you have to compare, you have to see. So in discussion, what this is what we do, that we write our findings and discuss this on the basis of what has been done earlier. Means it may be um, it may be something which is maybe in your favor, maybe not in your favor. Means some, maybe you are studying any variable and it is coming positively, okay, and maybe in the previous studies it is not accepted as you are accepting it. So maybe the acceptance and rejection, and previously the study is contradictory with your study, maybe in the favor of your study. So that we can compare. So review of literature is not only a part of your study, but it is coming everywhere in your work, because it is also justifying your results. Okay, so that has to be done. Whenever you are doing any kind of review of literature or mentioning anybody's work, you have to mention their name means the citations are important. In text citations are important. Also, the finally, I must say, apart from in-text citation, the referencing is important. So, if we talk about definitions, so a review of literature is an assessment of body of research that addresses a research question. Also, it is an organized written presentation of the paper or previous work what has been published on a topic by various scholars. Also, the same type of definition given by Taylor also, that an account what has been published by accredited scholars and researcher. So this is all about review of literature. What are the resources? So magazines and newspapers. There can be electronic databases, books, journals, conference paper, theses, encyclopedia and dictionary, research reports. See, there are various magazines which are publishing tasks, report related work, like your research title related work. Also, the newspapers are publishing lots of data. If that is relevant to your study, you can also include that. Electronic database means nowadays everything is on internet, and whatever e-database is available, you can also refer to that. Books are already available on various topics by various authors. So whichever you find are authentic and actually contributing to your work, you can also refer to that. Then journals, various research journals are existing in this world, in the on the internet or offline online sources, and they are publishing various research work. So you can also refer to those. Then conference papers, various colleges, university, and organizations are organizing conferences. Uh, uh, so those conferences are also publishing the research papers. So you can also take the work from them. Various scholars are publishing their theses. Also, research reports can be taken into the consideration. Even the government websites are publishing the reports, or internet is also available. Just a minute, everyone. Yeah. Am I audible again? Yes. Someone please can confirm about it. Like I am audible again.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. Audible.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes.
Yeah. I'm so sorry. Yeah. So because we are having various sources, as I was telling you, there are so many government websites. If you think that your study can be based on secondary data also, so the government websites are also publishing the reports and various data. Also, whatever the companies you are taking, or I must say, um, there are various because now everything is on online, so websites are there for the companies, and they are also publishing their annual reports, any other data, which is because transparency should be there as per the government nowadays. So there are so many things you can get. Next is characteristics. Our good review of literature must be comprehensive. See, because we are reviewing the literature, so it cannot be like one liner or two liners. It should be comprehensive. It should include, I'll tell you later also, but it should include all the important aspects and information related to that particular literature. It should include up to date references. See, because sometimes what happens whenever we start finding the literature, it also gives a suggestion on the very older ones. So those can be considered. But yes, also you should uh, try to include the latest ones. References should be up to date because you are studying in this current era. So current reviews should be included. Also, as per your type of the paper or your thesis suggests or recommends accordingly, like page limit permits or whatever, accordingly you can go back to the previous literatures, because in the PhDs we can have as much as literature we can have. So that is not the problem, but when it comes to research papers, sometimes there is a page limit or something like that, or some guides are very particular on that you should not go you should not use so much literature. In that case, what happens, what you can do, as per discussion with your guide or as per the requirement of your study, you can use last 5 years of data, last 10 years of data, or as per the requirement of your study you can decide. It should be systematic, it should be free from biases, it should be well written, and it should be in the form of sum of its part. It should be clearly searched and selected. Also, the accurate references should be given in the review. As I was mentioning this, that obviously, if you are taking somebody's work, you are not God, so you are not writing anything by your own. You are taking at least ideas from somewhere, right? So either you are interpreting that in your words or whatever, but you are at least taking somebody's reference or something. So whenever you are writing from any of the research paper, you are referring anybody's work, you are taking content from anywhere, do give the citations, write the references. So referencing is very much important when we talk about the review. Purpose, it helps to identify what is already known about a research problem. Okay, as we know that this is our objective, this is our research problem, so it helps, what review of literature helps us to identify what is already known. It helps to build on previous knowledge. Many published research studies contains the recommendations for the future research, from which we can get the idea for a new research study. I would like to elaborate this point. We are also going to discuss in the last, but let me tell you that whenever you will see any of the research papers, it doesn't start with the introduction. It starts with the abstract, where you can get the idea what the paper was all about. In the conclusion, I will also take one session on the conclusion, so also this thing I will tell you in detail, but I'm mentioning it, that in abstract is going to talk about the whole study, conclusion is talk about your main objectives, are those fulfilled or not. And there is one thing, I call it extended part of the conclusion, that is recommendation for the future research or future research scope, which can also give you idea about the research. How? Let me tell you. For example, I'm writing one paper. I have taken number of variables and done lots of work. But still, obviously, in one paper or one thesis, everything cannot be done. I may be having some more ideas in my mind, and there may be something which, after completion of the work, I can see that yeah, I cannot do, or there is something else which could be done. So in that case, I can write that particular part in the future research scope, where whenever you are reading any of the paper, you are downloading any research paper, you are reading it, you can check out the future research scope part, so that you can see that this research scholar has been worked on this, and this is still left. This is also the scope where we can all explore the thing, right? It make researcher to know what research has already been done, in a particular area so that we can avoid the duplication. So again, whenever you are reading previous literature, so you will see what has been done till now. So duplicacy and any kind of plagiarism can be avoided. It is necessary to narrow down the problem to be studied. It will also give you idea about what variables already has been studied by other scholars, what is still left, what you can do. So your problem can be narrow. How to write a review of literature? So there are two things. There are two ways. See, there are multiple ways. When you will search on the internet, they will give you so many things. But ideally, you can stick to these two. That are these two are more than enough. Chronological order and thematic. Chronological order is time wise, means ascending or descending in terms of current literatures to the previous literature or previous literature to the current literatures, means newest to oldest or oldest to newest. Means, for example, I am taking or studying on anything, so 2024 and 23, 22, 2020 and 2019 or 2015 or like this wise, like we can go back. But if we talk about the current ones, in it can be like, from for example, some work coined in 1880s, then there can be some literature which we can find out then in 1990s or 2000s. 2000, you can also go chronological wise, means decade wise. In every 5 years, what how many studies has been done. You can also write in a particular way, that different time frame can be considered. Okay, but when it comes to thematic, it can be based on different themes. It can be based on our variables to study. For example, if you are taking demography or considering any demographic variables, that can be done. Then you can also follow it like a view of like in global view, international view, then in Indian context, any country's perspective, or then state wise, anything you can also segregate in this. So different themes can be followed. Also, for example, you are taking any variable, so like two three variables are there, so you can take one variable, you can write different work or literature has been done on that particular variable. Second, you can take and again you can describe or work on that. So this is how it can work. Like, you can also choose the theme wise. Even in themes, you can also follow chronological. Every theme can present your work chronological in chronological order. So this is how it can be done. Structure of a review of literature. Every I'm not talking about the whole review of literature chapter, I'm talking about specific. Each and every review of literature should contain the introduction about the title of the study. In the what, for example, you are taking one researcher's review. In that, every literature should include introduction, what methods they have followed, what kind of work they have done, then how what was the sample size type, and what was the conclusion discussion they have done, and you have to give the referencing also. So every research review of literature should talk about what was the gist of that particular review. So this is in the detail, so I have already told you about it. Now, like, let's talk about it. Types of review of literature. So again, whenever you will Google it, Google is giving you number of options by different people. But again, there are four specifically I would like to mention. Traditional or narrative review of literature. Second one is systematic. Third one is meta-analysis. Fourth one is meta-synthesis. So if we talk about traditional or narrative, basically we summarize anybody's literature or the work and to draw the conclusion about a topic. So simple, you have to mention the things which I have mentioned here. All these things should be there. If we talk about systematic review of literature, again, it is the same type of literature. See, it because all our review of literature, so same things would be there, but it would be more clear and more specific. Here you can also use some published and unpublished, means the working papers, working studies, which is already available, and but somehow you can get the idea on your work. So it can be more, so more and more literatures can be considered to define your work. Meta-analysis and meta-synthesis. Again, these are two types of review of literature. There is a minor difference, that is meta-analysis is taking the large quantitative findings, not qualitative, quantitative findings, and doing some statistical analysis. So that is meta-analysis. And if we talk about the meta-synthesis, it is non-statistical method, means it is evaluating and interpreting basically the findings of multiple similar qualitative studies. So when it comes to quantitative related work, meta analysis can be done. When it comes to meta synthesis, so non statistical or qualitative studies can be considered for this kind of review of literature. Steps of writing the review of literature: first you have to select the topic, then you have to search the literature, then you have to develop the argument, you have to survey the literature, then you have to critique the literature, and finally write the review. Means you have something in your mind, you select a topic, then you start searching on the literature, then you see that whether like is this proper. You have to go for both the sides, positive and negative sides of the literature, whatever you are identifying. Then you have to survey, you have to understand, you have to go and you have to answer some question where you are analyzing each and every literature. And then finally you have to critique the literature, means you have to see all the aspects. You don't need to be biased where you are doing it. And finally you can write the review. If we talk about the concluding the review of literature, so you have to summarize the ideas, conflicts, themes, historical or chronological periods. It can, you have to relate or contextualize your thesis with the work reported in the literature. Then you have to point out the gaps in the scholarship. Also you have to show how your research helps to filling those gaps. Then you have to transition to the next, means basically first introduction happened, then review of literature, then there is a gap, and to complete that gap you have to choose your methodology very wisely. So it is also a transition to the next chapter, and it will also give you the answer that why this work is being done and how it has been it will be done. So this is how you can write. Now, next question comes that what should be the length of the literature reviews? So again, there is no specific and hard and fast rule on the length of it. But yes, in general, I can just tell you in general. See, it all depends on your research, because it is your research. We have to decide. Sometimes maybe the what type of paper you are following, maybe on the basis of different conferences and places where you are going to publish your work, or you are targeting any specific journal, so they must be having some criteria. So on the basis of that you can decide. But in general, depending on the purpose, as a part of the PhD or MSc dissertations, literature review should be very much comprehensive. It should cover all the all the aspects of the research. Okay, all the basically each and everything which is covered. But if we talk about the proposal or project, it should also cover the different aspects, but it should be comprehensive, but reasonably comprehensive, means it cannot be in very detail, but it should cover all the parts of the study. Then if we talk about the research report or research paper, the literature review cannot cover everything, so it should cover major work which are very close to your study, which has been done on the topic recently. Specifically, as I told you, when it comes to research paper, obviously you have page limit, you have some boundaries. So on the basis of that, you can also cover the current ones. So these are three types of parts I have given you. Some points to remember. Number one, literature review must be written in a formal style, academic style. It should be, you have to keep the clear writing very clear and concise. Also, do not use any you should always avoid very general words, any WhatsApp language, I must say, and personal language. You should be very formal while you are writing it. Always aim to be objective and respectful to the other opinions. Don't write any negative words for anybody. When introducing Anybody means the previous researcher which you are studying and you are including in your study. When introducing someone's opinion, don't use says or something like this. You should write, you can say in the way that they argues, the claims, states, the proper word should be used. So your literature review should present your synthesis of your previous research and lay the foundation for understanding your research and appreciating its value. The one more thing I would like to focus on, that is avoid the plagiarism. I have already mentioned this. I one of the like session you will be talking up. I think you will understand about this as well. I hope you have talked already. Just a minute. Uh, yeah, I think yeah, in one of the session you are going to discuss about this, about the plagiarism issues. So whenever you are doing any study, so all the time, or you have to avoid this. So at all the times, avoid plagiarizing your sources. Always separate your source opinion from your hypothesis. Make sure that you are consistently referring or giving the reference to the literature you are referring to. When you are doing your reading and making notes, it might be an idea to use different colors. You can distinguish between your ideas and those of, if you are some copying your data, copying anybody's data, taking it as it is or something. So you can use something like that, so that that can be differentiated. But whenever you are writing in your study and you are going sending it for the publication, you should always try to do this, that always do give the references properly. So thank you. That's it from my side. Now I'm open for the question answer session. So if you are having any doubt, you want to discuss something, so we can have a discussion over it. Anyone? Anybody is having any question?
Ma'am, good evening.
Good evening.
Ma'am, actually, I have one question. Can we relate review of literature while forming hypothesis? Can we include hypothesis in review of literature part itself?
Sorry, shall we use?
Or can we frame a hypothesis in the review of literature part itself?
See, there are some people who write objectives in this particular part, but I have never seen a hypothesis in this particular part, review of literature. It should be there in the research methodology. That is third part of the study.
Okay, okay.
Yeah,
May I please?
yeah, please.
Okay. So basically, I want to know about the formatizing. For example, if I'm writing a dissertation, and
Hmm.
if in another instance I'm writing normal research paper for Scopus or some other publication, or if
Hmm.
I'm writing a thesis for my PhD, so will the
Hmm.
format of review of literature will differ?
See, as I have already mentioned, if you are writing a research paper, it you should include at least the latest ones. If you are not having that much page limit or something like that, right?
Okay.
So you can format is the same. Okay. You should include introduction, you should include methods, you should include the what they have done in their study and what was their conclusion, and you should use the references. But when you are writing in PhD, so you can use more and more data, including, or you can elaborate more data, or also you can give more interpretation to it if you want to. But when it comes to research paper, we have to be little concise. So
Okay.
comprehensive could be there, but and when it comes to Scopus paper specifically, when we are specifically
So
writing any,
everything has a word limit.
see, I have already told you there is no word limit. But when it is
Okay.
word limit of a journal where you are publishing, or wherever you are submitting, anywhere submitting, accordingly you have to cut it off.
Okay.
Okay. Number two, whenever you are writing a paper for Scopus, and specifically you people are writing any, systematic review of literature paper, in that case you have to use so many literatures, because ultimately your paper is based on that only. So that
Okay.
you have to, as I have told you, this is your research, so you have to decide how much you want, and whatever is your target, whatever the journal you are targeting, you have to, go for that, that how much you should include, that you have to decide.
Okay. Fine.
Yes.
One more thing. I want to be very specific with the research that I want to do. So the research that I am looking forward to is uh, like the religious sentiment which are being portrayed in the films.
Mm-hmm.
So as you have told, okay, we have to go back to the data first.
Hmm.
And
You
if there is
cannot
no
find.
research being done
I can understand.
before,
See, so that is why, I have heard from someone that always choose those topics which already has literatures. But as nobody will do such kind of research which are very new, then how the literature would be created? So
exactly,
see, what I could understand, because when I started my research journey, so I was having the same concept in my mind, that whenever doing some research, so we should do something new. There should be some innovation. There should be something
right?
new which is not done till now. So I also done some of the work. Like for example, I think 7 or 8 years ago, when the only Amazon, or I think Netflix, there were 2 3 platforms were there, very new
OTT
in for
platforms.
the OTT and everything. I also did one research on OTT platforms, saying the popularity of the video streaming services. At that time,
Mhm.
everybody was not carrying the smartphone, everybody was not carrying the internet in their phones.
Mm,
Everybody was not that much accessible for these OTT platforms, and
right.
people were not having, not able to pay, and they were not
Mhm.
having the mindset to pay for each. And when they were having TVs at their home, and they were thinking that why to pay for extra for OTTs and everything. But nowadays, that our TVs are smarter, so we have to pay for those subscriptions. We
Mm,
everybody's phone is at least having one or two, even more than two platforms where we are paying, right? So at that time we have done some research. So what I can suggest you for this, see, there can be some newspapers, there can be some magazines, there can be some articles, there can be some, I must say, blog or something, anything, something you can find at least. So you can start working on it.
what
Obviously, you
about
cannot create.
audiovisual? Like some
Yeah,
videos
see,
might have been posted.
that you can do while you're presenting your work, but you cannot write it now.
Yeah.
Yeah, so whatever you can get, you can mention, because even we face the same issue. We were not having any previous literature, because earlier there was no BSS, there was no OTTs, so there was no literature on that. But nowadays
Right.
you can see that there are so many work has been done on all these. So see,
Hmm.
somebody somewhere, somebody has to start. Okay, so if you are starting something new,
Right.
okay, so you can start your create on own literature, then you will be referred, or you'll be cited as the literature. So whatever content you are
Okay.
getting from anywhere related to those words, like you have talked about religious sentiments, so you will get something about it.
Yeah.
Maybe not on films or something, but yes, something you will get. So you can start working on it, and obviously you will get some data, and you can forward go ahead with that.
Okay. And the validity check is also a must, na? Like the data should be valid, right? To the present context.
See, validity, while if you see, whenever you will be doing some preparing any questionnaire, and you are doing the data collections, for that you have to validate your questionnaire. So that will understand what you are trying to research, or you are going to search on,
So I'm
basically.
asking about the validity of the literature. If the literature is
Again,
very
for
old,
that
so
you are
can
putting
you
the
cite?
references, na? For that you will be putting the reference. Whatever you are getting, you have to put the reference, whether in terms of bibliography or bibliography.
Okay.
Yeah, so that you have to
So
mention. That
it
is
would,
why I was.
so outdate
Hmm.
would be also fine. Outdated data would also suffice.
See, if there is nothing, then something is always better than nothing. Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I have a
Okay.
question.
Hello.
Thank
Yeah.
you so much.
Yes.
Uh, See, when we are writing a literature, when we are doing literature review, we
Mhm.
see articles who have already done literature review,
Yeah.
right? So can we take that literature review as it is?
See, yeah, I got your point. Basically, that can be taken, but proper references should be given. Also, you have to check whether that particular paper or work is or is still existing. Sometimes it happens we take some work and now that is not there on the internet or somewhere. So you have to always cross check whether it is available or not. So you can take again, you have to interpret. You cannot copy the same.
Okay, will that amount to plagiarism again?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
Hello,
Yes.
uh, ma'am. My question is that in the research paper, that can we take a review of literature from the newspaper news also, the related
Sir,
to the
as
topic?
I first we should try to get it from the published research papers, articles, theses, books. But if, as I was suggesting to Fazil, that maybe you may not be having anything and maybe your study is talking about that and the newspapers and magazines have
Suppose,
covered those.
suppose my research paper topic is the study of contribution of for development of small scale industries, and they're
Mhm.
related to the same in Hindu's paper or in Times of India paper having the a message
Some
for the small
published,
scale
yeah,
industries, published
yeah.
data. So that shall I
Yes,
take
that's it.
it
Yes, that is
included in
published. No,
the review of literature?
yes,
Shall
sir,
I?
that can be done. As I was telling you, that we use the bibliography, we use the bibliography as well. And in that case, I must say that you can use books, you can use theses, you can use magazines, articles, any kind of published work. See, now because it is published you can refer to it, but you have to give a proper citation and you can give a proper reference to it, so that whenever somebody is asking a question about it you can refer to that. Sometimes maybe it may be positive, it may be negative, so you have to be very clear on that. Whatever data you have taken, it can be from anywhere, but that is related to your study, so you can take.
Okay, thank you.
Yes.
Ma'am, can we use the shortcoming of any particular paper in your literature review? Like if you find that there is a shortcoming in that particular paper, the research paper
See,
that you are using as a literature review, so can we use that?
you don't need to say that that is a shortcoming. You don't need to show it show it in your work. Whatever they have done was right or wrong, that was their perspective, but that may be in the favor of your study or may not be in the favor of your study, but you don't need to mention their limitations in your study. You have to mention what they have done, what was their limitations. For example, we are writing a paper and in the last we are mentioning the limitation. So you don't need to take anybody's limitations and you don't need to mention it. You have to mention what they have done, but what was their limitation, that should not be done.
Okay, ma'am.
Any other questions? Mhm.
Hello, ma'am.
Yes.
Could you please share this PPT also to on my mail ID?
Sir, actually, this particular session is also streaming live on the YouTube and other platforms like social media platforms. So where you can see the date, you can see all the slides again.
Okay.
Yeah. Any other question?
Hello. Hello,
Yes.
good evening, ma'am. Ma'am, actually, I want to just know, rather than Scopus, there is any other platform where we can publish and we get little earlier? I think Scopus takes 6 months to get published.
It is not like 6 months, it is not like 2 months, it is not like 1 year. It is all about your paper where you are publishing and what
Yeah.
is the criteria of that journal. Maybe they will be giving you, some change. I mean, any kind of suggestion or they may be asking for any kind of changes or correction. Depending upon that, it takes time. So there is no fixed time for any journal.
Okay. So which is the best rather than Scopus, ma'am?
Ma'am, see, there are, I do understand there are four categories. One is peer review journals. Second one is UGC CARE listed journals. Then the ABDC, then the Scopus journal, and last one is the ABDC journals. Apart from there, that there are so many types of journals, but these are major four categories where you can publish your papers.
If we give one to the local one, then it's is it not okay? For the
Ma'am, it
local,
depends. If it is acceptable, generally it is not. But if it is acceptable in your college or anywhere where you are, going to apply for the job, or anywhere where you are thinking that you are studying for that particular purpose, or you
okay,
are doing some research for that purpose, if that is accepted there, okay. But you should always try to go for some standardized journals.
okay. Thank you, ma'am. Okay, ma'am. Thank you.
Ma'am, how to go for UGC care publications? Like, what is the way to whom like we should contact, or how we can go for it?
Ma'am, you have to give them, you have to write the paper, you have to send the mail.
But so ready. But I'm thinking like I have to approach for UGC care, but how, whether is there any online things are there or what?
Ma'am, see, every journal has its source, right? Maybe that journal is having uh website. Some are journal print journals, some are online journals. So whenever you want to search for any kind of journal, you just check it out. It has all the details. What is the publication house, means publication college from which that journal is associated. You can directly contact them, you can send the paper to them, you can go through the different conferences where they are publishing the papers. Even the Research Foundation of India, they are organizing so many conferences. You can also apply for any of the conference, and they can help you in the publication. Means if your paper is good, then only it can be done.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Okay. Any other question?
Thank you so much, ma'am, for this such a very informative session. And thanks all the participants for being very cooperative during the session. Have a good day to you all ahead.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, ma'am.